everybody, I'm Tom Bassel, and welcome to Week in Review. This is where we take a look at various things and projects that we did over the past week, and then we tell you what we think about them. And then if you want to see the whole thing, you can click a link in the description of this video. So let's get started.
Hey everybody, I'm Z Garcia. Here's what I reviewed last week. So I reviewed the Dominion app, which I gave an 8 out of 10 to. I thought it was a very well put together app. It has a ton of content if you want to pay and unlock all of it. And that's very pricey. The app also seems to be keeping in mind the super fans of Dominion, which is good. I do worry that it might be overwhelming for new players, but you can play the base set of Dominion for free on the app. You can just download it and try it out. So really well done. It's not a very flashy app, but it's very workmanlike, and I like the way it was put together. I reviewed 3,000 Scoundrels Double or Nothing expansion, which I gave an 8 out of 10 to as well. It's a very good week, you'll see. And this one really enhances the base game. I think it's one of those expansions that it lands itself very firmly in the necessary category. I think the 3,000 Scoundrels core box was an okay game. It felt very small for how many rules were in it. And I think this expansion, Double or Nothing, really opens it up, makes it feel like a richer experience, makes it more engaging, and gives you a fuller, more interesting world that I would never want to go back from. I would never go back to the base game. It was simply not a game I was particularly interested in. With the expansion, it's very engaging, and I certainly recommend it. If you're interested in buying it, just get the expansion at the same time, honestly. I reviewed Wyrmspan, which I gave an 8 out of 10 to as well. And this one has some really interesting new mechanisms that feel a little more thematic than the original Wyrmspan that this is sort of based on. I like the new mechanical concepts at play here. The one thing that I always thought was a little bit weaker in Wyrmspan was the dice tower with the dice for resource production and the food. That's gone, replaced by a new concept of traveling through the caves, this new wheel that you move upon and go on quests and choose various things. All the various parts, the gears moving together really do work well in this one. There's a few things I thought didn't work as well. Stacking cards gets a little bit messy, and I'm not a big fan of the look of the game. The watercolor makes everything look a little samey. But I think the gameplay is excellent and a very robust game. Mechanically, cannot be faulted. I reviewed as well Nova Roma. This I gave an 8.5 out of 10 to. Wonderful Euro-style game in which you are going to be deploying workers to the central grid and taking the actions at the intersection of where you deployed. So the row and the column of where you placed, you'll be getting both of those abilities. And they get better, of course, based on various things you're doing. Lots of gears within gears, one of those kinds of games that feel a little Frankensteinish to me. They feel like they have various pieces attached. But in this game, they really work well together, all these things, and they affect each other in clever and interesting ways. Wonderful Euro game, one of the best I've played in a while. And then lastly, I reviewed Pagan, Fate of Roanoke, and I give this a 9 out of 10. This is a two-player card game that feels a little bit like a trading card game. It has some of those emotions in it, some of those actions in it, but it is quite asymmetric. And one side playing the witch side, in which they are hiding a character among 9 different characters in a village, and the other side is trying to figure out who that is. You'll be deploying cards, taking actions, influencing these characters. Very clever game. I think it's a little long while you're learning especially, but the gameplay is robust. It's interesting. It has luck, of course. It's a card game. But I like everything it's doing, and I find it quite engaging. Great look as well for this one. So there you go. That's it for me, folks. I will see you on the next one.
And now we return to Chris time. Thank you, Chris. What did Chris look at this week? Well, a few games here, starting with Evacuation, which I gave an 8. Wendy and I took a look at this one. Vladimir Suchi's new big game. You're trying to evacuate one planet, settle down in a new planet, destroy the engine you have built at the start of the game here to build up a new engine of resource gathering on the other side of things. I hated the race mode, loved the points mode, a fantastic game with a lot of tough decisions, a lot going on, but hard to remember all the rules for. So an 8. Next up, Unmatched Sun's Origins. Once again, I hated an Unmatched set by being 0.5 points below everybody else. I gave this one an 8.5. Unmatched is growing on me a lot. These two characters are fun. I love the history, I love the setting of this. I like the board, and I like putting them in the cooperative Unmatched adventures, so 8.5. Next up, Fractured Sky, also an 8.5. This is the first game from IV Studios that's really sung to me. It has notes of Aladdin's Dragons, where you're putting out these kind of secret bids, secret worker placement, kind of area control, but it doesn't feel mean. There's a lot of compensation whether you win the point or you win the secondary, tertiary prizes of getting resources, so you're better set up for next rounds. I love the secret bidding in this one. And then the Dominion app. Dominion is one of my all-time favorite games. It's been consistently in my top 10 games. For a long time, it was my #1 game. So of course I love the game, but I think the app is well implemented, and it caters, I think, extremely well to people who are very familiar with Dominion. I think that it can work as an introduction to the game. It has some really good built-in tutorials, but I can't speak to that coming from it brand new, so I'd love to hear about that. Now, there's been a few other things that did this week, of course, but also my rapid fire roundup was 10 quick reviews, and that's where a lot of the ratings as low as a 5 came from this week. So 5 all the way up to a 9 in my rapid fire roundup, so go check out that video. Let's keep moving.
Hey everybody, here's what I reviewed this week. Let's see, let's go into order here of numbers. First, I did Explosion in the Laboratory. This is a brand new Fire in the Library, but this is more of a travel size. It's a push-your-luck game with cards. I enjoyed it for a travel game for what it is, and I gave it a 7. Then I played Pagan Fate of Roanoke. That's a 1v1 game, and it's one side is the hunter, the other side is the kind of the witch, and you're trying to hide a witch. It's a quick game. I gave that an 8, enjoyed it a lot. And the other one is the new Unmatched Sun's Origin expansion, where you've got 2 new characters. Each one plays differently. One I would play with the PvP. The other one I would do more co-op. But I enjoyed this a lot. This is a great addition to the Unmatched series. And this is a 9 from me. And those are the games I reviewed this week.
Hi, I'm Wendy Yee, and this week I have one review for you, and that is Evacuation. This was my most favorite game from last year, and I'm hoping that it continues to stay that way for a while. So this is one that I gave a 9 to because I was very happy with my third, fourth, and fifth play of this game, and not my first and second, because there are 2 modes. There's a race mode, which is what the rules book says to use, and then there's a points mode, which the rulebook at the end says is an option. Definitely use the points mode, 100%. The other one I'd give like a 5 or a 6 maybe. It was not enjoyable. Like the game itself is good, but the mode is terrible. So on that note, I love just the theme and stuff. I enjoy how the mechanics are so fascinating, how you're trying to build up 2 different engines. You're removing an engine, so everyone's evacuating from an old world and coming to a new world. And that new world has to build up kind of from scratch this engine of resources so that you can really build it up and meet objectives. So I just really enjoy those 2 different economies and those 2 different engines, growing and building them. So go ahead, check out the review. I have tons more to say. And yeah, it was a pretty awesome game. So there you go. That's Evacuation. Gave it a 9. Let's go ahead and see who's next.
And for me, we did a Catch-a-Palooza at the very beginning of the week where we played Bidder Up, which was a fun little auction game based on the popular game You're Bluffing. Let's see what else we did this week. I did a boring unboxing. We played Wyrmspan. So I want to talk about Wyrmspan briefly. I gave Wyrmspan an 8.5, and I said, I think I can go higher, but I got to say, I am going higher. It's a 9 for me. It really is. I keep thinking about Wyrmspan, and I really enjoy the engine building of it. It was just so much fun. Kind of replaces Wingspan for me. Not that Wingspan's bad in any sort of fashion. I just love the mechanisms of the new game. Let's see what else. Nova Roma gave this one an 8. A solid game from Stan Kordowski. Really like how this one plays, where you put out a worker and you're activating a column in a row. Very fun Euro-style game. Blob Party. I gave this one an 8 too. A party game where you're trying to guess the same answers as everybody else. Simple and silly. Enjoyable. We did Board Game Smorgasbord. We talked about our favorite movie scores and played some hand games. Did our top 10 3-player games. I did a live play of A Song of Ice and Fire Tactics. I me and Z and Chris took a look at the Dominion app, which I've been waiting for a while. I give it a 9. I love it. I'm so glad I can play it all the time. I gave a plea to publishers about rule books, and I reviewed the expansion to 3,000 Scoundrels with Z and Roy. Really like this one. This one raises the whole game to me up to a 7.5. Very enjoyable. I did 8 Flash game reviews, a whole pile of games. You can see part of them here in the picture frame. And then we reviewed Fractured Sky. I gave it an 8.5. A very good week all around. There were some really great things. Very happy with the games that we played. But, well, you can always watch my stack of games review to keep me balanced out, because those weren't all very positive. So there you go. I'll see you again this coming week. I'm Tom Vassell, and this has been Week in Review on the Dice Tower.